Razorback Nation, welcome back into episode 39 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive into all things Arkansas Razorbacks. Join us as we dissect the victories, analyze the plays, and revel in the spirit of the Hogs. Episode 39 is brought to you by Home Field. Step into the legacy of collegiate style with Home Field's premium vintage apparel. Embrace the spirit of your alma mater, or even just your favorite team with their meticulously crafted, comfortable, and stylish collections. Elevate your game day attire and celebrate the rich history of college sports. Home Field, where tradition meets modern comfort in every stitch. You can use promo code Variety Sports in all caps to receive 15% off that first order. So go ahead and check them out. Transplant Texans already in here saying can't stay too long, but I'm ready to talk about this Hogs men's basketball team. And man, infuriating to talk about this men's basketball team when you have the number one team in the country on the ropes, and if you make at least 5 more of your free throws and Big Z can hit a couple of threes, you probably win this game right now. And we're celebrating a victory over the number one team in the country.
Yeah. That's kind of the story of the Hogs the past few weeks, right? Same with A&M, kind of same with Alabama. They're just
early in the season.
This close. Yeah. They're really close. They just can't get over the hump. And the thing is, I mean, we've been dealing with that for Arkansas football since Sam Pittman's been here, and the fans are just kind of tired of it. We want wins, and it's hard to say that, especially when you see a group of guys who play really, really hard and take it to the number one team in the country in their house, but you just can't get over that hump. And it happens every single week. It doesn't matter who it is, really. And the thing is, after Arkansas plays somebody, so like Arkansas played Alabama, nearly won, and then Alabama just doesn't show up for a few games. And then A&M, nearly won. They go in to get their teeth stomped in by Mississippi State. Like, what the heck is going on? It's after every single one of these games, the teams that are supposed to be good, they just suck, and they make Arkansas look even worse. I'm just glad that we have a system like the net that is, metrics based instead of like college football playoffs, where it's all like, oh, well, I feel like this team should be over another team. So hopefully there's all but like 2 games are quad 1 opportunities going forward. Arkansas has to get like 3 of them. So we'll see how it goes, but it's getting to crunch time.
I was about to say, these guys are getting where their back's against the wall, and you've really it's getting into major crunch time. Like it's like Transplant Texans saying here in the chat, missed free throws, lack of offensive production by Big Z, and of course the one thing, Brazil scoring for Auburn and earning their 6th man MVP, not the recipe for a win. And that was something last night. Like, man, I don't want to put a loss on any player, and it's not 100% his fault, but man, you have 2 critical plays where it could have changed the game. You don't tip it in for them, and then also you don't knock the ball out of Billy Richmond's hand, who had fully rebounded 2 hands, like was ready to come down with it. You knock it out of his hands and give it back to Auburn, and those are 2 key plays. Not saying if those went the opposite way, we would have won the game, but it puts you in a better spot to win the game.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like Trevin Brazile, he's still a good player. It's not like he just forgot how to play basketball. I think he's the only player left on this team that hasn't found his role, right? And you can kind of make that argument for Adu too. But the thing is, I feel like Adu's found it. He's just sucked, and I feel like maybe that the injury has to do with it. I don't know if Brazile knows where he needs to be and what his role is going forward, because with Musselman, he was that dude. He was that big. He was the one that brought down the rebounds. He was the one that had the energy. And now he's not. he's much more of a role player, and I think he's struggling to figure that part out. And it's tough because I like Trevin Brazile, and I like that he stayed with Arkansas for the past 3 years, going through some of the crap that he's gone through, and it just sucks that he can't get it going when he needs to. And the thing is, he didn't do like the plus and minus. I'm trying to pull up the stat sheet, but it's not wanting to pull up for me. But I think he had a plus and minus that was higher than most people on the team.
I was about to say, yeah, he was a +4, which is very surprising to me. Like, with how, everything that happened, where he, it's like somebody said earlier today, I saw a combination for our bigs were -2 points for Arkansas. If you think about Adu not scoring, Big Z putting up a donut, not hitting a single shot, and then Brazile scoring for the other team. When you have those guys give you negative points, and Brazile, being one of your biggest offensive producers within the last 4 to 5 games, and for him to come out and put up 0 points, yeah, you got double-digit points out of the other 4 starters, but when everybody else on your bench other than Billy Richmond gives you 0, it's tough to win a game. And for a minute, do what?
I mean, that's been the problem all year long. No big. We don't have somebody that's down low, really setting the tone on defense and offense in the paint. We have no big presence. If Big Z doesn't shoot from 3, then he's not really doing anything else. So I mean, he got 8 rebounds last night. And I think
he has kind of come along. I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah. He has kind of come along the last few games, but it wasn't there yesterday, and it wasn't there against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, he got his teeth kicked in too.
Yeah, and Brazile was never I don't think he was ever a Cal guy, so maybe he's gotten just lost on this roster. Can Cal trust the guys that he actually recruited more? But I think it is a lot to do with his injury in the past, and we're having a little bit of that problem on the baseball team with Hunter Dietz not really throwing the ball like he's capable of because of previous injuries. So, it's tough to recover from an injury and be the same player. Like I watched a video on Twitter with his dunk that he made last year, and it's like, where is that guy at? But it's just it's very interesting how things have switched for Brazile. I don't see him being on this team next year.
Well, and that's the weird thing is, like, Cal, like, from what I could tell last night, he had to trust him in some capacity by putting him back in the game in crunch time. After what had happened earlier in the game with that accidental tip in, and it comes down and has some sloppy play, I'm not sure I'm putting him back in when it's, the game's on the line with you're under 2 minutes left in the game, yet he subs him back in. That tells me he's got to trust him for something. But it's very interesting that you decide to put him in instead of maybe, because those last few minutes, you didn't have Thero in the game. You didn't have Carter Knox in the game. Carter Knox only played 10 minutes in the second half. Why that is, I don't know, because he was, playing out of his mind against Auburn last night. The past 2 games for him, it's like, if he's the player that's playing well, feed him the basketball, like make your offense run through him. If he's the guy that, he seems to, like, it almost for me feels like for Carter Knox, things have finally just clicked. Like, it seems like he's understanding everything much more. Both him and Billy Richmond, both. I mean, it's like up here, Transplant Texan said in the chat, positive note, Nelly took to the court and left Janelle in the locker room last night. Great game by Nelly. BR3, Knox had good games. Big Z stepped up on defense, having some blocks, having some rebounds. Yeah, he didn't put up on the offensive side, but, I mean, you can see these guys, it's making sense, and things are clicking a little bit more, but I just hope it doesn't end up being a little too late. And like I'm just saying here, it says Brazile hasn't recovered from the knee injury mentally. Just like you talked about, Hobbs, like that's the tough part with, sports, you have an injury, and some guys just can't mentally come back from that because it's always in the back of your mind. Am I going to mess up my knee again? Am I going to mess up my shoulder? Am I going to mess up my elbow? Whatever it may be. And so,
yeah. And the thing is, like, defense, there wasn't a problem last night defensively. If you hold Auburn to 67 points in a game, I mean, that's damn good, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The thing is, Auburn's defense isn't as good as what the stat line for Arkansas shows. Arkansas had many shots wide open that they just missed, many layups that they just missed. And the thing is, I don't think I've ever seen a team that can just go cold as drastically as this team does. I don't understand how Ivicic is, like 50% from three the last 3 games, and then all of a sudden 0 for 9. That doesn't make sense to me. I know the thing is, basketball, sometimes you just got to drain your shots, and they just didn't. They didn't do that, and they didn't do it at the free throw line either. And those are cheap ones,
I mean, you just mentioned
a lot of those. Go ahead.
You just mentioned the 2 things that have cost this team dearly all season long. They go through cold stretches. They can't score. I mean, there's been multiple times this year where they go minutes at a time without having a field goal. And then you talked about the free throw line. This team has not shot good on the free throw line all year. I wish y'all could pull up the season stat line of the free throw percentage. I'm sure it's not good, especially if Boogie Flan hurt. I mean, you can't go 50% from the free throw line. I don't know how many of our viewers play NBA 2K on the video game, but I play it sometimes, and anytime I see a person make a player that can't make a free throw, it just gets on my last nerve. Like, man, they're called free for a reason.
Yeah. And they've done 72% this year, but the thing is that they've done well sometimes. It's really in those key moments, like the one in games that they're not they're not drastically ahead. Those are the moments where Arkansas is not hitting the free throws, or in games where they're getting blown out is usually they're not hitting the free throws either. It's just, I don't know. It's got to be a mental thing, right? Because Pat, he's saying that he suspects a Noah, which that's what Transplant Texas has been telling us all season long. And maybe, who knows, it might be it messing with these kids' shots. It could be affecting some stuff.
I mean, a prime example, and I don't know if it's that 100%, but it's crazy to see such a drastic change in a guy like, perfect example, Nelly Davis. He shoots nearly 50% from 3 last year in the corners at FAU, and then this season he can't seem to hit the broadside of a barn when he's trying to shoot. Now, granted, these last 4 to 5 games, he's been decent as far as playing better. He didn't hit a 3 last night, but in general, just playing better. But his 3-point shooting this year compared to, the previous 2 years at FAU is drastically different. And, maybe a little bit to do with scheme and, having to find his role in this offense. But that doesn't change your actual shot. And, you should still be able to knock down attempts, especially when you're open or you're picking and popping, whatever it is. So, I don't know what it is. It could be the system. I don't know. I didn't realize Muss ran off the Noah system as well.
Yeah, I don't remember that being a thing, but it felt like Muss had a I don't know if he used the Noah system, but you could definitely tell he was messing with people's shots. Ricky Council was one of them. I feel like he wasn't great. He had that really weird looking shot where he almost looked like he chest passed, especially from beyond the arc. And whenever they were messing with it, he just kind of stopped hitting anything from deep, and then they kind of let it go, and he went back to being like a 33% shooter. So I don't know. I don't I don't know why people want to mess with a good thing. Like just let it go. And I know
If it
you're
ain't
trying to
broke,
get these
don't
guys
fix it.
right, and I know you're trying to help these guys get ready for the league and whatnot. But thing is, if you make a shot, you make a shot. I don't know why you want to mess with it. So, but
Right.
I don't know.
Insurance Plan Texans saying, part of it too. Thero's a junior. We should be able to, count on him to make his free throws, especially in those tight situations. Wagner's a sophomore and second year as a starter. We should be able to count on him and not to play scared as well. And that's two things. Like it's like Pigpen said, kind of confirming what Transplant Texans saying is freshmen kept us in the game. I mean, Billy Richmond came in. He gave you 18 minutes in this game, 13 in the second half. And then, Carter Knox, 11 points, 5 of 6, hitting his only 3, missed 2 free throws. But, those guys are, taking step forward as the season has went on like we expected them to. And, not chalking the season up to being over with. But, man, those guys are going to be fun to watch next year, when they're paired with Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just saying, says freshmen played with more poise than our veterans did last night.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talked about DJ Wagner, playing scared. And I don't know if it's playing scared. I feel like he doesn't have that touch, that finesse when he drives and gets to the rim. Like Boogie Flan, that kid, like, holy cow. He could stop on a dime and, move his body in a way that wasn't overly dramatic and overly powerful. I mean, that's why DJ Wagner's missing it at the rim, 2 or 3 times a game, because he goes up there, 100% speed, and he never slows down. He never stops to, kind of readjust his body. He just goes up and throws it up, and it hits off the top of the backboard, and the other team gets a rebound. And I don't know why he's doing that. I feel like he has that in his game. Plus, he out of high school, he was a 3-point shooter. He was a good 3-point shooter. Why is he shooting like 30% this year?
I wonder if part of it, as far as the driving thing, is he's going in there so hard that he's just like, all right, I'm a small guard. I'm going to go in there and get fouled, so I'm just going to go in and throw it up. And if it goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, I'm going to get 2 shots.
Right. But the thing is, if you go in there fast, they might miss you, right? They might not hit your arm. That's the thing, is like Ricky Council, the dude with athletic, the dude could go in there and get a foul. But the thing is, he would move his body into people.
Exactly.
He would create fouls.
Exactly what I was about to say. Another guy that did that was JD Note. The bigger guards would actually go in the paint and look for contact, like go into the body. They wouldn't go to the side of the rim trying to make it over a big forward or center. They would actually go in there trying to make contact to draw the foul. So yeah, that's what I had to say about that, because I remember specifically that's how they drew fouls, because Wagner's just trying to get to the side of the rim. He's not going in trying to make contact with anybody.
Yeah, and you spoke on it a while ago, Austin. Talk about finesse plays. Both Carter Knox and Adu Thero each had one fantastic reverse layup where I don't know how they made it go in, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's more or less what you want. I want to see out of DJ Wagner, right? I mean, if Zakai Sigler can do it at Tennessee, I feel like DJ Wagner should be able to do it. I mean, Zakai is like 3 inches shorter than Wagner, so like, what? Right. I don't understand the excuse. I don't know. Also, like, does he have a mid-range game? Like, where's his stop? His pull up from like 10 feet out.
Well, and his
I know
mid-range
like
game.
Boogie Fan could do it, but I don't know why DJ Wagner's
Well, and
hasn't developed that part of his game.
It's weird too because DJ Wagner, it seems like when he goes to the mid-range area, it's like he doesn't stop and shoot. He tries to just go in and stop and put up a floater instead of a true jump shot.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, floaters are great. Like if you can hit them, they're great. And that's one of the things that Boogie did well is he had like just amazing floater for a freshman, and you don't have that kind of play anymore. It's like 100% to the rim and just throw it up, hoping you get fouled, and they can't play like that, man.
Yeah,
especially when they're not hitting the free throws.
There's no good if you get to the line, but you can't hit them. And that's like Transplant Texan says, talking about opposite of DJ Wagner. Billy Richmond doesn't play scared at all. He goes 100% as well, but he's very confident when he goes to the rim. But, it seemed like whenever he would drive to the rim last night, Auburn didn't have an answer for Billy Richmond at all. Whenever he'd drive, and, I think he's a lot quicker than what he's given credit for. Because if you see him off the bounce, and off the dribble last night, he was beating guys easy and, getting like wide open, clean layups. Not even like he was getting to the rim so fast. These guys weren't even necessarily getting a chance to react, which is nice to see out of him. And see that it seems like to me that he's playing a little bit more controlled than, what he did at the beginning of the season. But at the end of the day, like Transplant Texas saying here, and what we're getting to is if you're avoiding contact enough, it's harder to get that foul call. If you're looking for contact, and you'll get to the line and put the other team in foul trouble. And I think that's,
I mean, that makes sense, except for like in the case of Adu Thiero, like that dude's always looking for contact, and he wasn't getting a single whistle yesterday.
Yeah, at all. Which I was surprised if you think about that in the second half. Arkansas didn't necessarily get into foul trouble until you were like late into the game. Arkansas didn't have a single foul called on them until, you're getting close to that 5-minute mark in between. Like there weren't hardly anything called on them until late in that game. And then, even up until that 2-minute mark, we had a foul to give that we had to burn, late in the game too.
I was telling my guys at Razorbackers in our group chat, I'm like, the last, I think it was 4 minutes. I'm like, dude, they're in the bonus and Arkansas is not even close. The game plan needs to just go into the paint, throw your body around, get some contact, and throw out the ball. That needs to be the game plan. Like, do it with Nelly Davis. Do it with DJ Wagner, the guys that can hit free throws. And the thing is, when you're putting them, what do you call it? In foul trouble, like you said. 2, you're making the game longer, and 3, you might get a 3-point play out of it without having to hit a 3-pointer because you haven't been able to hit a 3-pointer all game.
Right,
and it like I don't think they did that. They kept trying to shoot threes, like that shot at the end of the game, which I thought was incredibly stupid. With Avicic, I don't know if it was drawn up like that or if it's just because he had a great look. But they had time to drive. They had time to run a play. You can get an easy 2 and then, foul and come back and try to shoot a 3. And it just, I don't know, man. It was rough. I don't know the thought process of that. Especially when Big C wasn't hitting threes.
Right. It's like you drop a play for the guy that's not really has been ice cold all night. And, I get he's a great shooter. But, by the 6-3, he took 3 more after that. I was like, all right, Big Z, it's not your night. Just please stop shooting. And, shooter's going to shoot at the end of the day. But, an interesting point here in the chat from Transplant Texan. He said, I would say the pairing of Billy Richmond and Nelly was a better mesh than DJ and Nelly. Maybe it's just the energy that Billy Richmond brings when he's on the court, but he liked Billy Richmond and Nelly playing better together.
Yeah, and it's surprising that Billy's, really kind of taken over that third guard role and plays point, more than Nelly does. And it's kind of cool that he's got a forward's body, but he's like you said, he's got a really quick first step. He's really a lot quicker than people give him credit for, and he's obviously got the IQ to make those plays. I feel like sometimes he still has a freshman tendency to trying to force plays, but his idea is correct, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's onto something, and I just don't know why DJ's not doing that.
Right. It'll be an interesting pairing to see, Richmond playing that 3-guard spot next year alongside Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, with, like you said, with the body type he has and his quickness and not having to be the main point guard. I could see some interesting, play out of Richmond next year and him taking that sophomore jump, if you will. But yeah, Transplant Texas said Big Z was struggling from 3. He needed some plays for him to score in the paint, and that just wasn't happening last night. It seemed like, we weren't having any luck from outside. So, what were they doing? Clogging the paint. Big Z couldn't get open. It didn't seem like the pick and roll was, working. There was one time that they, for some reason, tried to throw a lob to Jonas Adu last night when the man has had trouble playing and jumping all season, and to think I'm going to throw you a lob.
Oh man. Yeah, that's he could barely move all year long, and you want him to jump over the rim to catch a lob. That's wild to me. Has he even dunked all year long? It seems like I don't know.
Oh yeah,
he's had a few easy bunny hop flushes in the year, but nothing like throwing a lob up. There was a beautiful lob to Billy Richmond in this game, but nothing with.
That was from, who was it from though? Well, it was from another big, wasn't it? I think it was from. Was it Adu to Billy?
Maybe.
Yeah, it was either Thero to Billy or Adu to Billy. I'm pretty sure.
And another thing is, I think the reason Big Z had those good games is because you weren't dependent on him for everything. And now they're just going to him, hey, throw up a 3. That's not him. There's a reason why he's a stretch. The stretch stretches the floor to give other players the ability to be open more. So Nelly's got to hit his shots. DJ's got to hit his shots. Richmond and Thero got to hit their shots, and they have been lately. But Carter Knox, like you said, has got to play more because he seems to be the most dependable person right now from beyond the arc. So a stretch is not a guy that's going to be inside. That's what inside making plays all the time. They're there to stretch the floor from the perimeter in the mid range. Yeah, like he just said, teams shouldn't be relying on the stretch big to win the game on the offensive end. Yeah, he's there to stretch the floor. That's what stretches are for. He's not a defensive anchor. He's not a paint beast. Now, I will say they probably should have let him do a little one of them hooks that I've seen him make several times this year to just get him to see the ball go in the basket, because sometimes that's all a shooter really needs to see is the ball go in the basket one time, and then they can get going again. But, yeah, it's tough. We're not going to win many games if he goes 0 for 9 from the floor.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to see very many games where he does it at all. This was just a weird game where, he happened to just be ice cold. And Pigpen says here, and I agree, it's like Auburn had a bad night. We've seemed to get several of these top teams where they have a bad night. Our defense keeps us in this game. Yes, 100% the Arkansas way is normally we play down to our competition, but we definitely didn't play up to our potential in this game where, I go back to it. You have the number 1 team in the country on the ropes with the potential to beat them, and you can't close it out. You had them right where you wanted them. If you make your shots, back to your free throws, those should be if we were, 80% in this game, and I don't know. It's beyond frustrating. I agree 100% with what Transplant Texans saying here is Knox should have got Brazil's minutes last night. At least in the second half anyway. 100%.
Yeah, and I don't know why they haven't started doing some more plays for Knox. Because 5
and
6
he's starting the
and then
game
one.
too. He's getting the start. And
Yeah.
Knox played 19 minutes in the first half and then comes out in the second half and plays 10.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, like, the dude's not bad from 3, and he hasn't been that bad from 3 in the last 4 or 5 games. So, like, take half of Ivicic's, threes and give him the Knox. You can at least get 1 or 2 more. And you get 1 or 2 more free threes and hit 1 or 2 more free throws, like you said, Arkansas wins this game. And the thing is, we say that because Auburn's over, 7 points over Arkansas at the final. But the thing is, 4 of those points came off of desperation fouls, right? So they don't even need that. You get 1 or 2 more free threes and you win this game. That's it. And the thing is, Auburn couldn't do anything on the offensive side either. So it's just one of those things. Arkansas, just like A&M, Arkansas beat themselves in this game.
Yep. Transplant Texan says, Hobbs, on your point that too much was being asked of Big Z. Transplant Texan asks, was the energy expended on Z on defense affecting his shot?
I'm sure it was. You ask a guy to be, I mean, he's always been a guy that gets blocks, but if you look at the stats, he's never a high rebound guy. He had 8 yesterday. So maybe his energy was spent too much on the defensive end trying to, you got Broom down there and 25-year-olds for Auburn. You playing your heart out on defense. His legs may have not had the energy it should have had to get the 3-point shots up. So that's a big and he has no help in the paint. There's no help down there. So to ask him to do that, this is why it's so crucial for us to bring in forwards and big men that can play way better than what we've had out of Brazil and Dudu. Is what I've called him lately because he's literally non-existent. We've got to have help for him. We can't just have one big, and that's another problem with having eight people on the roster. There's no depth, and we saw it from the baseball team last year. They had no depth and couldn't survive in the postseason. This is the same thing that's happening with the basketball team, except they can't survive in the regular season. Like you even look at it, like we lost by 5 to Baylor, couldn't close that one out. Lost by 13 to Illinois, and that game was close all game long until the end. Lost by got destroyed by Tennessee. That was never close. Lost to Ole Miss by 7. Lost to Florida by 8. Lost to LSU by 4. Missouri by 18, but that was close towards the end. Oklahoma by 3. Alabama by 4. A&M 8, and Auburn by 7 last night. This team just can't find ways to close it out. It's been the story all year long. Like Austin mentioned, the cold spurts during the games, and basketball is a game of runs. That's understandable, but to go minutes without getting a field goal is just you got to find a way to score. That's just unacceptable. You've got to get it going, and that's been the biggest key in not closing out games.
Yeah, like I would give anything to have a guy like Mekhi Mitchell on the team this year. Man, he wasn't necessarily the greatest big in the world, but man, he went out there. He would give you 110%. He would get some boards. He would put some point. He would get some buckets at the basket, and 100%, 110% effort. And if we just had a guy like that, man, you probably win 2 or 3 of these games that's close like this. And that's a good point to think about. With the whole thing with Z. And maybe using a lot of his energy on defense because, he had a couple of shots that, were air balls where, even the announcers mentioned it didn't necessarily look like he had his legs underneath him. And Broom was we held Broom to lower than what he was averaging scoring, and Z was playing some physical defense down there with him. Maybe him up increasing his defensive intensity, wore him out a little bit more than maybe what he thought it would, and then it was causing him to maybe short some of those shots and just not shooting like he normally was.
Yeah, I can see that. Plus, the thing is, I think he was on their other big most of the night. Thero was on
Cheney.
Broom, which didn't make sense. Yes, Broom was on, Thero was on Broom for a lot of the night, which didn't make sense to me because, I know Thero is a good defensive player, but he's so much smaller than Broom is. I don't know why you would, but the thing is, the other guy, the thing is, Auburn's just good. No matter what you did, there was going to have some kind of mismatch down low because Arkansas doesn't have a good front court. It doesn't have a big, good front court. Let me change the wording there. And the thing is, Big Z did have some great plays. Like that one block against Broom, I was like, dang, that was a good play. The one where he stood over the kid and got a tech, which the thing is, I get it that you want to
soft call or not.
No, because to the letter of the rule is not, that's correct. It was a good call. But as for me in the love of sports, absolutely it's a soft call. I think the rule is a soft rule. No, I get it that you want to keep people from getting into fights and stuff like that, and you try to really hone in on it. But I think taunting is a part of the game. You remember old dude from OSU going on his ninth year of college football, going down the sideline doing this to Arkansas. To me, that's the
OSU's their baseball player too, the blonde head guy.
Oh yeah,
I remember his name.
I forgot his name.
But don't worry, we got the last laugh on that one. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Hagen Smith got the last laugh on that one.
Yeah. But to me, that's the game. You have the, what's his name? I don't know his name. The pitcher from Georgia yesterday or the day before.
Oh God. Yeah.
Turn around. He did that little tongue thing and then he threw a strike to end the game. I was like, dude, that is the fun part of sports that I like.
Nah, don't worry. We get our chance at him at Georgia too.
Hey, the thing is, I like that, and the thing is, if you beat a kid who does that, it makes it even better. I don't know what it is. I like the slight taunting. That makes it better. You go to a street game, right? Street basketball. That's all they do, and it's fun. Sometimes they get into fights, but if there needs to be some kind of balance between it. And so I think on to the letter of the rule, that wasn't a soft call. I just think the letter of the rule is a soft, it's a soft rule.
Right.
Still, but to go back to the actual point, Big Z was playing incredibly well in the defensive end. And so he might be onto something too. But the thing is, then you got to start doing some more of the pick and roll stuff, or have them go down there and play a true big in the paint or right outside the paint. Don't keep them up by the 3-point line. You got to do something with them.
The problem is we don't have that this year. There's no. Brazil is playing for the other team yesterday, and the other guy's not even there hardly. There's nobody else to put in.
Yeah, he was the sixth man for Auburn yesterday.
Yeah.
That was just
like Transplant Texans saying here too. Baker Mozzarella, as he called him, taunts towards Cal in the bench. It took 2 taunts before he was actually called for the tech. And for consistency, they should have teched him up after the first taunt towards Cal. And I swear, I mentioned this. I saw it on Twitter last night too. It never fails. Auburn has these type of guys that are just whether it be Baker Mazzara or, you think the past few years before him, KD Johnson, like they always seem to have at least one guy that, he likes to just talk and taunt and like nothing else. And man, this guy was getting on my nerves last night.
Katie, I remember Katie Johnson. That dude looked like he needs to be a mechanic. He doesn't look like a basketball player. And to go out there and just play and talk like he did, I loved it because, he's not in the pros anywhere, is he? Unless he's playing.
He's playing another year at George Mason.
He went to Georgia.
George Mason.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I don't
think they're in Washington.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't know he transferred, but how is he still playing, dude? He's like 6th or 7th year.
Ever since COVID, they give all these players extra years of eligibility out of nowhere. So,
yeah.
I mean, same thing can be said out of Baker Mazzara too, man. It's like,
everybody on the Auburn team, they're all like 26 years old.
25, yeah, they're all grown men. And I kept seeing posts about this kid, this kid. This ain't kids. I mean, they're 8 years younger than I am. They ain't kids. So, no, they ain't.
Damn, you're old, dude.
I am. Don't give me
8 years.
Yeah, so KD Johnson's playing for the George Mason Patriots, and he's averaging 21 minutes a game and 6.8 points a game.
How do you go from playing at Auburn to George Mason and only get 21 minutes a game, averaging 6 points?
I don't know. They're 21-5 and in first place in the A-10.
I guess they got some talent over there then. Well,
yeah. Well, you can ask that about Devo Davis, I guess. He's not even playing for Oklahoma State right now.
He's not a factor on that team. He should have just stayed where he was. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, just graduated a Hog at least.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah.
He should have just followed Muss or something. I don't know. That's.
I was about to say Devo's averaging 14 minutes a game.
2 points a game.
1.8 points a game.
Yeah, I'm shocked at that. But he was really bad last year. So but I mean, I'll never forget what he did in the tournaments for us. But
yeah, it seemed like March Devo was something else. And who knows? Yeah, Transplant Texan says biggest fall in performance. But back to what we were talking about. A taunt towards a coach is unacceptable. It should have been shut down faster. And I give that to an extent. Like
the thing is, you got to you got to see it too. So they might not have seen it the first time because it was pretty quick. I remember seeing it on the way down. But the thing is, the second time it happened, I guarantee you they were chirping at the ref on the way back. So the second time it happened, they called it, the ref saw it, and boom. So I don't think they were being unfair necessarily. It just wasn't front and center like Big Z's was.
Well, and that second time, too, he was nearly in the Arkansas bench because he, did that fadeaway and falls and, almost backs up into the Arkansas bench. And then that's when he turned around and, did the whole jersey thing talking to the bench and coach. And
yeah.
Should have been ejected.
Yeah. Eject him. If we're going to go all out, just eject him. Make it like the targeting foul. You can go up there and barely tap somebody and get ejected for targeting. Let's do it with taunting in basketball.
I mean, you get ejected in baseball for arguing any little thing, so eject them.
Yeah, balls and strikes. I mean,
I was about to say, I remember a few years ago, I think it was it was 2 years ago, I think it was the Georgia game in baseball. DVH got thrown out of that game when we were on the road at Georgia, and I think it was game 3. It was that game where Ben Bybee gave up the huge home run, and Dave said the TV was behind, and he said he was in the locker room watching the game on TV and said he heard the crowd go wild, and was like, uh-oh. And then sure enough on the TV, he sees that Ben Bybee gives up that huge bomb, and
man.
Dave if Dave doesn't like the call, he'll let you know.
Oh, he said something about that about the Washington State umpire with Carson Wiggins that he had 2 strike calls that should have been called. Yeah, he don't play that game. He can't stand that. Which
He's
I'm
been
right
around
there.
long enough where if I had to put money on it, I'm going with what Dave's point of view is, not coming from an Arkansas perspective, but the man's been around baseball for so long and high level successful baseball. I'm going with him, and yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
But
I'm going with him because he's got a hog on his hat. So
and that helps too. But Transplant Texas says Devo and Billy Richmond have similar abilities to bring excitement and energy to the court. He said Billy Richmond better than Devo as he has a higher ceiling. I agree. I think
I think I said that at the beginning of the season. Is that was my comp for him was Devo, just better.
It's like everybody loves him because of the energy they bring, and I think the big difference is like everybody loved Devo because of that, but also because he was a true Arkansas kid. And everybody loved seeing him have success that he did being an Arkansas kid. But at the end of the day, I agree. That's a great comp, but with a higher ceiling. Like I feel like we're seeing what Billy Richmond's doing this year to what Devo, accumulated over his years here at Arkansas.
Yeah,
but
now, it's going to be hard to have that hike in the middle of a game for a 3-point play, like he did against Colgate his freshman season.
Yes,
you remember that? I still think about that play every once in a while. That was
right.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was clutch in the tournament. Colgate, New Mexico State, or New Mexico, whichever one it was.
And then Mac McClung, he was
Texas Tech.
Mac McClung's daddy.
He was clutch in the tournament. So, like you said,
he was big in that win over Kansas too. Like
Kansas,
think about those big wins.
Can't forget that.
But as we kind of round out the basketball talk here, looking at the schedule with the final 5 games of the season, I feel like you got to win 3 of these, and 3 of these are, I want to say very winnable, but it's to that point of you got to show me you can do it, guys. Where you got Missouri coming to town on Saturday. They just thumped Alabama last night. But we know Missouri doesn't play great away from Missouri, but Arkansas doesn't necessarily play great at home either. So, you got to catch 22 there. So who knows what's going to happen there. I feel like then next Wednesday, you've got Texas coming down. You've got to beat Texas at home. You have to. And then I feel like out of the final 3, you've got to win at least 2 of them at South Carolina, at Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State at home.
There's a huge problem with the schedule you just talked about, right? We play Missouri Saturday night. We also play TCU Saturday night in baseball. That's a huge schedule issue, and you better have TVs going because you do not want to miss the Hogs playing TCU on Saturday night.
Well, I don't got Flow Sports, so it don't matter anyway.
That's a fair point. If you don't have Flow Sports, it doesn't matter. So most people that don't want to pay that for the Flow Sports will be watching the basketball game and probably having it on mute while listening to the baseball game on the radio.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
exactly what I'm going to be doing.
But, yeah, so these final 5 games are going to be key down the stretch for the Hogs. I really hope, you're sitting on that currently first, or final 4 in, if you will, and you hope to, do enough that you can get in. And it's like, I don't think any team necessarily is going to want to see Arkansas on their schedule or on their side of the bracket if they do make into that tournament. So like Transplant Texas says here in the chat, the rest of these games are do or die. They must win. No more wiggle room if they want to make the tournament. And I don't mean the NIT. So, yeah.
Okay. You want to go ahead and do a little, before we hop on to baseball, do you want to do a little record prediction?
Are you talking about for 5? Sure, why not? So, looking at these next 5 that we just talked about, I'm going to say, with backs against the wall, optimistically, Arkansas is going to go 3-2 in these next 5 games.
What about you, Hobbs?
Man, it's hard for me. Listen, if this was the baseball team, I'd say that we have every shot in the book because I believe in baseball so much it's not even funny. We are a baseball school. It's the best program we have on campus. But this basketball team is so hard for me to believe in them. I do believe in them, but it's hard for me to know if they can close out a game because I just haven't seen it. I mean, the Kentucky game was just out of hand all throughout the game. And Kentucky hasn't played defense all year long, so it didn't surprise me what we did in that game. But it's hard for me. Missouri is playing on high cylinders right now, even though it's on the road. Like you mentioned, Caleb, we don't play good at home anyway. We haven't even had a signature home win, which I've been asking for weeks now. Can we please win a game at Bud Walton that we should win or upset somebody? Let's protect our home court. Can we beat them? Yes. Will we beat them? I don't know. I'm going to be watching the baseball game, if I'm quite honest with you. The Mississippi State's no pushover either. Mississippi State's a team that I think can make the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight run. They got a great coach. They're good. South Carolina, if we don't win that game, season's over. You better win that one. And who's the other two teams we play? Texas
and Vandy.
And Vandy.
Yeah, those two are very winnable as well. But you talk about closing out games. You've got to close them out. So can we win 3 out of those 5? Absolutely. But we've got to win the games we're supposed to. South Carolina, Texas, and Vandy. I'd be shocked if we beat Missouri or Mississippi State. If we do, I think we're possibly in the tournament. But even if we win 3 out of 5, I still think we got to make some noise in the SEC tournament.
Yeah. You heard it here first. 5-0.
Oh, wow.
I'm just completely – no, I'm joking.
Hey, no takebacks.
No takebacks. So, no, seriously, I don't think they beat Missouri. Missouri's just really, really good. And they're coming off of an insanely good offensive performance. Texas, I do think they beat Texas. I think they sweep Texas. Now, here's the weird part. South Carolina, I think they beat South Carolina, but I don't think it's a good game. I think they probably make it really ugly, and it's probably right there at the end of the game. And then I think they lose to Vandy. So now to get that third win, they have to beat Mississippi State. And it's at home, right? Mississippi State's at home, or is it? Okay. I think they do beat Mississippi State. And it's just, I think they have their backs against the wall. They need that win. And I feel like they have a signature win in them. I haven't looked at the matchups yet. I've watched a little bit of Mississippi State. They scare the crap out of me. If you ask me how confident I am in that winning, in that prediction, it's 50-50. But that's what I think. I think the next 3, they go 3-2 with wins over Texas, South Carolina, and Mississippi State.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. And this is the problem in Transplant Texans highlight that we've, much been vocal about all season. The environment at Bud is not enough to make it intimidating to the visiting teams or energizing enough energy to carry the Hogs to victory. Yeah, I mean, and then Transplant Texas, didn't Mississippi State just beat Alabama by a significant margin?
I'm not sure, but I believe so. But it's a good thing we're not playing at Mississippi State because we wouldn't stand a chance. That environment they have this year is one of the best in college basketball.
So Transplant Texas, they beat Alabama by 4, and then they just beat Texas A&M 70-54.
So it's Texas A&M.
No, Alabama beat Mississippi State by 4.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they beat them by 4. And then they match up with them here next week at Alabama.
Yep.
But exactly. Can we win? Yes, we can. We've seen we play with most every team we've played. Will we win? TBD. We'll let you know. So, yeah, Texas A&M, I knew it was a recent opponent of ours. Yeah, they went on the road after, beating Arkansas and then lose to Texas A&M or Mississippi State. So it's like Austin talked about. It seems like teams after they play us seem to struggle a little bit in their games after. So, we'll have to see. But to Austin's point, we did our predictions. Let's jump over to something more positive and talk about some Arkansas baseball. As Arkansas is getting ready to head down. What was it, Hobbs?
I said, you daggone right. Let's go.
So, yeah, Arkansas is heading down to Arlington this weekend, but we do have one game to talk about really quickly, and that was Monday's game. We did our recap on Sunday, and Arkansas baseball played on Monday. Finishing out that 4-game series with Washington State. Arkansas gets the win 12-2 in 7 innings here. A quick look at the box score. You got your first look at Landon Bottlecheese. Goes 5 innings like Hobbs and I talked about on Sunday. Produces another almost identical stat line to the rest of these other starters. Comes out there 5 innings, allows 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts on 71 pitches. They all pitched in the 70 to 75 range. And he's just another guy that comes out there and is another great starter for you.
Yeah, Bottlecheese looked phenomenal, like I figured he would. That slider he's got to left-handed hitters and even to righties is deadly. Looks almost unhittable. He's just got nasty stuff. There's a big reason why he was an All-American. He looked every part of it. If I had to rank the guys that I saw starting this weekend, I'd say 1 through 4 would be Root, Bottlecheese, Gackle, and then Wood. That would be the most impressive to me. Now we'll get into the starting rotation this weekend. We know what it looks like now, but with Bottlecheese coming out of the bullpen this weekend, that's a huge weapon. And we'll get into that here in a minute, why that decision was made.
Do you think he'll go? He'll be pulled out in Game 3, or do you think he'll go out as soon as
I think he's going to get pulled out in the most necessary moment. So I think whatever game is the closest, late innings, you're going to see him.
He'll kind of just be like a closer instead of a starter.
Very, very much. Very much so. You probably see Vouch on Friday, Wiggins on Saturday, maybe Bottlecheese on Sunday. One thing I think the decision was made for Bottlecheese not to start Sunday, which I don't think this Wood decision is set in stone. I think it's just a decision made for this weekend. And I think a big part of the reason was made that Bottlecheese doesn't start this weekend is because Michigan has seen him multiple times. Because he pitched in the Big Ten at Ohio State last year and the year before that. So that may be part of the reason why he doesn't want Bottlecheese to pitch on Sunday and let Gage Wood see a different arm because Michigan did beat Bottlecheese last year. So that may be a part of the decision, and Dave Van Horn just don't want to announce that to the public of Michigan that he's not wanting to pitch him that way. But I think you'll see him. You could see him Friday and then again on Sunday. Could be part of that. It's not a bad problem to have. I mean, we're absolutely loaded. This is a beautiful thing. Any pitcher we bring in is almost unhittable. It's an amazing thing to have.
Yeah. And you talk about the other guys that we pitched on Monday, kind of wrapping up, recapping that game. You had Ben Bybee come in for an inning, give up 2 hits, a run, and on 17 pitches. And then, the guy that you're excited about, one of the guys, Cole Gibbler, comes in for that final inning that Arkansas played due to run rule in this game. I know they're wanting to get Colin Fisher in this game too, but, didn't happen. Cole Gibbler comes in for an inning, gets his first strikeout as a Razorback in his collegiate career in 12 pitches, faced 2 batters in this game. Great debut for him.
Yeah, and Dave Van Horn even mentioned he wanted Bobby to throw another inning, but we ended up rolling them because this offense is so much better than what we had last year that's going to actually happen a lot of times when we face weaker opponents. But yeah, I mean, Bobby threw an inning, and then I'm glad I got to see Gilbert throw an inning. I think he wanted Gilbert to throw an inning more than Fisher. He even mentioned in his preview of the Texas series coming up that he wanted Fisher to pitch. He was in the bullpen. They wanted to throw at least one batter, but it ended up didn't happen. And so I think you'll see Fisher pretty early on this weekend because he really wants him to get in the game at pitch. And this is where Colin Fisher actually made his debut last year, was a year ago around this time, where he came in against Oklahoma State and just looked phenomenal. So it's going to be good to see him back on the mound again. And yeah, I was excited to see Gilbert because, you mentioned I'm pretty high on him, and I think he's gonna play a good role for us this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be fun to watch all these pitchers as some of these freshmen develop, as these guys that we know the stuff they got, kind of step up and step into their roles. Offensively in this game on Monday, man, it was another great offensive outing. You have 2 run rule games in the weekend, and then you have 2 closer games. And I think as the season progresses, you're going to see more, not necessarily more run rule games, but you're going to see more outings like the second and last game of this series where we're putting up a little bit more runs. But man, this was the day of the Eloy brothers in this game where you had one not going to be outdone by the other, where Cahillo hits a home run, and then you have Vahiva come along and hit a shot out there to bring in 2 runs as well. He's not going to let little brother outdo him. So, that's going to be fun, but that creates another, like one of the, you mentioned earlier, Hobbs, a good problem to have is it's like, how do you not keep Cahillo in that DH role? Like all these guys are just hitting the ball well, that, whether it be Cahillo, we didn't see a ton of Logan Maxwell. You should see him some this weekend. Or whether it be, some of these other guys, it's just like you've got depth here, and it's crazy to see how that rotation is going to play, whether it's like you have Diggs DHing and you have Pepe out in the right field with Michael Anderson or somebody at first. Like, it's just going to be interesting to see how it shakes out into who is going to be consistent in that DH role.
Yeah, I mean, it's you plug in several guys at that spot. But yeah, you talked about Maxwell being you could see him in the outfield this weekend. Dave Van Horn mentioned that the Arkansas trainer Corey Wood said that Maxwell seems to be 100% healthy now because he had a hamstring issue last weekend. And we're talking about a guy that hit 335 at TCU last year. And you can go ahead and 100% guarantee you he will be in the lineup Saturday night. I have no doubt about that he will be facing his former team. I don't see Dave Van Horn leaving him out of the lineup against his former team. So that tells me that he probably won't play Friday. Not 100% sure. You never know what he's going to do tomorrow. But there's so many options when it comes to. I think Logan Thomas has got the left field spot sealed up. I mean, that guy got on base almost every time he was up to bat this past weekend, especially on the last game. And you talking about the speed he has. He's got that spot lined up. Center field, I think Davalon's got that locked up. The question is, who's in right field? Diggs is a great defender out there, but, his bat needs to come along with that. Maxwell's bat has proven itself the past 2 years. And Maxwell, even though he had a hamstring issue this past weekend, he put some balls, smoked them into the gap. He looked all the hitter that he normally is. And then you got Rocco Pepe that played a little bit of right field that didn't have the greatest weekend, but we know his track record that he can hit well. And Dave Van Horn has already really ruled out Eloy playing right field it seems like he's hitting towards his defense isn't quite 100% there to trust him in right field. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a DH or first base sometimes. But those are really your three right fielders that could be rotating this year with Maxwell, Diggs, and Pepe.
Now, the thing I want to talk about, you've hinted at it all, preseason, as long as you've been on here. They're going to the small ball type stuff. And, I mean, look at this. They had 7 – wait, 5, 6. Yeah, so 10 hits. Only one of them is a homer, and then they have 11 walks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
11 walks. I mean, like that's if you look at the 5th and 6th inning, that's where a lot of these runs come from. I think it's 5th and 6th, 4th and 5th. You got a lot of these guys that are walking. They're being patient at their plate. They're playing, high up into their count, and they're really making the pitchers work for it. And they're making the defense work for it. They're not just swinging and giving them free strikes. And that's what I like to see. But the thing is, you also got people like the Lloyd brothers, and then you got, and I can't believe we haven't talked about him yet, Brent Iredale, right? I know I wasn't here Sunday, so I imagine you guys talked all about him. But I am like head over heels for this dude. Yeah. I just hope he doesn't lose his Australian accent anymore, because that's the cherry on top. Like, come on, man. And the thing is, you have guys on social media still giving you crap about it. I'm like, he proved it, right? He went out there and he played the way he is supposed to, and that you've been talking about all season, that we all expected him to play this season. And I know it's just the first series, but hey, dude, this is the weekend, right? This is where we get to go and see if the stuff that we saw last weekend is for real.
Oh, it's for real. I mean, I haven't mentioned Iredale yet because I talked a lot about him on our last show, and
I think you did.
I'm talking a lot about him on Twitter this past week.
Yeah.
Because this guy is a gamer. I mean, he looks every bit of a baseball player. You can just look at him like, man, that guy's going to play in the pros one day. Just by the way that his bat speed, just the way he hits the ball. And we haven't seen
Can't forget about the mustache.
Yeah, Australian accent, the mustache.
Yeah, he looks like a baseball player for sure.
He should have
all the way through.
He should have had 4 home runs this past weekend and broke the school record for RBIs in a single weekend. He tied it with Shaddy and Kerstead, who were other 2 great hitters Arkansas had. I know Shaddy gets a lot of flack for the play in the World Series, but he was a great hitter at Arkansas, and Kerstead was the best hitter we've ever had. And Iredale can compete right there with him. I mean, I'm talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if the kid hits 400 all year long. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be hard to pitch to because he can hit almost any pitch you throw to him, and he's not going to swing at bullcrap. He keeps the ball in the zone, which means you're going to have to throw him strikes. And we're going to have guys before him like a Loy that can hit the ball, and behind him is going to be the most crucial part of this lineup. And who was the guy hitting behind him most of the weekend? Was it?
Let me see here.
Ryder was behind him like 2.
Ryder was normally hitting 8th.
So in the last game, game 4, Cahillo was hitting after him.
Yeah,
right.
So it's probably going to normally be the DH, Maxwell, Cahillo, or Pepe. That's normally what you're probably going to see, which all 3 guys are very capable. Huh?
I was going to say, in game 3 that Wood started, Diggs hit after
Diggs, yeah. So, yeah, those are going to be the crucial guys that because when Iredale gets on base, he can still a bag too. So, I mean, the guy can do everything. He hit for contact, he hit for power. He's got speed. You even saw the glove this weekend. He was great in the field. So, we haven't
great in the field. I know you guys probably talked about it Sunday, but Can I just say that was an absolutely amazing play, game one from
from Lloyd, yeah.
from Aloy. Like I think I
Mowing the guy
jumped out of
down
my
at
seat for
home.
that. And I don't do that for baseball, right? I don't jump out of my seat for baseball, but that one I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
an incredible
continue.
play, and it's a lot harder than you think to catch a ball in the basket. I've only done it one time in my life, and I was like, how the hell did I catch that? But that was in a rec softball game, so that wasn't nothing. I mean, he's catching a college baseball game with the wind blowing 20 miles per hour in, catches it, and then throws like a one back foot, like Derek Jeter throw to home plate, one hop, and even a great tag by Ryder there. I mean, that's incredible play. And like Dave Van Horn mentioned in his press conference, we may not see a better play than that all year long. Made him been the play of the year in opening weekend. So it's incredible.
Exactly. But kind of back to what, talking about Iredale, Hog fans better get ready. If you're gonna go to a game, and this man has a big hit, there's new tradition at Baum Stadium that started over the weekend where you've got the hog pen chanting Aussie, 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 and then one side of the stadium chanting Oi, Oi, Oi.
Oh boy. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a new thing that it kind of caught on as the weekend went on, this past weekend here in Fayetteville. So that might be something to keep an eye out for. But Austin, your small ball that you're talking about, just here's just some stats. So through the first 4 games of the season, Arkansas has 38 hits, 12 doubles, a triple with 5 home runs, and 31 RBIs.
Well, how many singles though? Like I said, just hit singles. Give me the singles. That's all I want.
So
I almost made an inappropriate joke.
So we play in a Major League Baseball park this weekend. You're probably going to see a lot of doubles and triples because this team's got a lot of speed, and they're going to show it off this weekend. I think the small ball is going to play a big factor this weekend because of the Major League ballpark, and we play 3 teams that are very good teams. So there's not. I don't really see blowouts. See, we could blow out one of them. I mean, it's baseball. It's early in the year. You never know, but we're not going to get blown out. I can 100% guarantee that our pitching staff is not capable of getting blown out. Yeah, you're going to see some speed put on display this weekend if ball gets hit in the gap, and you're also going to. I wouldn't be surprised if Kihio, Wahiva, or Brent get into a ball and hit it over 400 feet either. So be prepared for that.
Well, and here's the thing. They're getting to play in nice 72-degree weather and not 40-degree weather here in Fayetteville. So they're going to be a lot more comfortable. You're probably going to see a lot more pop in the bat. And you're probably going to see a lot more command out of these pitchers because it's like we mentioned too, Gecko struggled a little bit since it was so cold on Friday with some of his fastball command. You don't have to worry about that playing inside Globe Life. It's going to be fun to watch both sides of the ball here, how well our pitchers come out and, how well the pop off the bats going in a nice 72-degree enclosed baseball stadium.
And, I got something to pitch to y'all. I put it in one of our posts after, I think, the second game. But you got Aloy, the Loy brothers, you got Souza, and you got Iredale. Call them the Pacific Powers, right? That's my new nickname for this team because that's what it is. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I will make a T-shirt with all their faces.
It's interesting that half of our lineup is from another country. Not another country, Hawaii. Hawaii,
another part of the world.
Yeah. You got to get on a boat to go to either one of them. So, I mean, it's interesting.
We're playing it's the 21st century,
But
Hobbs, you can ride the boat if you want. I would choose to fly.
Yeah, you can fly. Boat or a plane. I mean, you can't go. You can't drive over there. But I mean, and there's more players in this team. But Pop now. We haven't seen Ryder get into one yet, which he had a pretty decent weekend, getting on base quite a bit, and he had that 3-run triple too at one point in the weekend. But I mean, Helfer's got power. Even Zane Becker, the backup catcher's got power. shoot, I mean, Rocco Pepe, wait till he gets into one. This kid can hit a ball to the moon. Souza, we know his power. Aloy, his power. But the outfield, Diggs hadn't gotten into one yet. Davalon is a guy that's got power too, and even Justin Thomas. This team's got sneaky power. So,
what do you think about him playing in the 9-hole? Because I feel like the dude is fat. You love it?
I love it because
fast.
Well, he's, Dave Van Horn even mentioned this in his press conference. It's almost like we got two leadoff hitters. Got one in the 9-hole and the top hole, or in the leadoff spot. Davalon's been had a productive weekend as well. He's getting on base, stealing bags, just like Justin Thomas was. So to have both, I mean, you could flip flop them, of course you could, but I mean, 9 and they both. I love having both of them guys back to back because they get on base for guys in the order like Aloy and Iredale. That's huge. I mean, you can't. That's a problem that is going to really help us come SEC play. To get guys on base like that in front of guys like Aloy and Iredale, because we're going to play small ball when Aloy and Iredale get up, they're not bunting. We need them guys to swing the bat.
I was about to say, and one thing you mentioned that I want to address here, it's like, it seems like Arkansas fans are too quick on the draw to just like absolutely turn on a guy, if you will. It's like after not the great weekend you expected out of him, but man, people were complaining left and right about Nolan Souza after this weekend, and man, people need to just pump your brakes. It's opening weekend. The guy is good. The guy is talented. Sure, he struggled opening weekend, but man, that doesn't mean just to flip a switch and be like, oh, he doesn't need to be in the lineup. We need to switch him out for somebody else. Seems like the same thing happened with Diggs too.
Yeah, that was the same storyline last year. That's always how. I mean, when the lineup card gets called out Friday, I'm sure there's going to be somebody complaining about one person not being in it. But I've tried to say this on Twitter to folks like, hey, this year is not like last year. This is not a year to complain about somebody not being in the lineup. And you had all bit of reason to complain last year. Peyton Hope was left out of that lineup quite a bit at the beginning of the year. So there was complaints there last year. But this year, this team is so loaded that it's okay for a guy to play over another guy. And Dave Van Horn knows more than all of us. So could be a matchup thing that a guy has had success over a certain pitcher, a lefty-righty situation. Could be a way a guy swung the bat in batting practice. You never know. But yeah, and Souza's a great player, like you mentioned. Played great defense, which Dave Van Horn loves. He struggled on the changeup this past weekend, just wasn't seeing it. So he had a great spring. So it's too early to really panic about Souza. Maybe they're saying that just because of who's behind him and Cozell. That could be part of the factor there. But I really want to see both of the guys in the lineup. I don't want to see either one of them lose playing time. And even, what's funny about that is that Dave Van Horn's been talking to Cam Cozell about playing catcher. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen this year, but he's told him he's got the frame, he's got the toughness, he's a ball player, and you could see him play anywhere, is what Dave Van Horn said. But there's talks of him becoming a catcher.
I also saw him thrown out to be potentially playing first too.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, you could see him play first, even the outfield, he said.
If his bat's good enough, you may be inserting him there at first and having Pepe in right, and then maybe DHing Diggs or whoever. But
right,
that's like an interesting shuffle that you're going to do if his bat keeps, he was number 3. He's not on the week, after the weekend in this first set of games. Your top 3 batters as far as batting average is Brent Iredale hitting 467, Cahillo hitting 429, and then Cam Cozell hitting 375.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
if he keeps up that hot bat, it's like, how do you not find a way to play the guy?
Yeah, he's going to play somewhere if he keeps doing that. You'll see him play a game or two this weekend. He's not going to be kept out of the lineup. This is a guy that's historically done this. He done it last year in the SEC at Vanderbilt, so he's proven he can do it already. And I really wish the best for Susan. I hope he has a great weekend, but he's got to perform more because he had a really bad half of the year second half of the season, had a great spring, had a tough first weekend, and hope he bounces back this weekend. But it's not a bad problem to have the depth we have.
Right. So kind of jumping in this first matchup, Pigpen says here, do we get the dub on Friday? You're playing Kansas State, one of the teams that, one of few teams that can say last year that they got the win over Hagen Smith.
Do we get the dub? It's hard for me to tell you yes or no that we get a dub. As baseball, anything can happen, but I believe we got a great chance with Gackle on the mound. And Kansas State is a scrappy team though. They've played some high-ranked teams. They almost beat North Carolina in a midweek game. North Carolina's ranked number 6. So this is not a team that's a pushover. They hit the ball really well, and we're going to get their Friday night starter. So it's not going to be a blowout by any means. I wouldn't think, but it's going to be a good one. But yeah,
if you just look at their opening weekend schedule here, they went to Conway, South Carolina, where Coastal Carolina's at. Played a few games. They lost to Washington, opener 2-9 or not 2-9. They lost to Coastal Carolina 8-3. They beat St. Joseph's 12-7. Lost to Coastal Carolina again 9-2, and then went on the road to North Carolina and lost 12-9. So they're starting the season out 1-4, coming into playing Arkansas tomorrow. So they might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to want to bounce back after a 1-4 start. But like you said, taking those odds with Gabe Gackle on the mound, and he comes out and does his thing, it's going to be tough to see a way that Kansas State comes out with a win there.
Yeah, and the thing is, with Arkansas's pitching staff, I feel like it's going to be because they only have really 3 or 4 good batters, but they have a guy that's hitting over 500 right now. That just one series, but I feel like Arkansas is going to be able, because they don't have the approach at the plate that they had last year. They're going to, like you said, that small ball is going to make more of a difference. And the thing is, I don't feel like it's a whole lot of what people think of as small ball. They're just getting the ball on the bat and they're putting in the hole. They're not, using a whole lot of bunts. They did a lot more, and they did a lot more stealing, but honestly, they're just getting the ball in the hole, and they're getting to first base. They're getting on base. And I feel like that they're going to probably, I don't want to really, I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to jinx it. Okay. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just saying I feel good about this game on Friday.
Fair enough. Yeah. So looking at it, I think if you had to sit down and break down the weekend and put the games from most likely to least likely, this is going to be your most likely win on the weekend. I feel confident about all the games, but if you're just kind of ranking who you're playing, this has got to be probably the easiest game of the weekend. And then, you jump over to matchup number 2, the much anticipated rematch with TCU. To Hobbs' point, you're probably going to see Logan Maxwell playing in this game, and he's going to want to pop off against his old team. But then you get to see the lefty Zach Root again, and it's a weird thing to think about. Going into this TCU game, what's your thoughts there, Hobbs?
Yeah, like you said, it's probably going to be the toughest one of the weekend. 7:00 on 6:00 on Saturday night, but yeah, TCU, they've always had a great baseball program. It seems like every year they're in the Super Regional or College World Series. They looked very impressive their first 4 games of the year too. They're undefeated as well. They're in the top 25. They're not a pushover team. This is going to be a battle. I'm glad that Zach Root's on the mound for us. It's going to give us a great chance to win this game. Hopefully, like you said, Kansas State goes smoothly and we don't have to use some of our biggest weapons in the pen, and we could have them available for Saturday night too. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. This is probably going to be the best game of the weekend, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to it. It can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Austin.
I was gonna just piggyback off of that. I think I like TCU's pitchers, and I think they might actually give us a little bit more problem than Kansas State will. I feel like it's gonna be probably a low run game compared to. I feel like potentially Kansas State, Arkansas could run up the score, but I don't think that's gonna happen on Saturday. I think TCU is a good ball club. Just from looking at their numbers and a little bit of the highlights. I think it'll be what Michigan was last year this year. And I think Michigan's a whole different animal this year, but we'll get on to that in a second.
Yeah, because if you're looking at TCU, more than likely you're going to be facing Catamon Parker. He's the guy that started their first game for them against San Diego in their 4-game series. He went 4 1/3 innings, allowed 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts against 21 batters. Pitched 78 pitches in that opening weekend. So he's a guy that can go for, around the 4-inning mark, at least what we've seen from this is a small sample set. So it's hard to really gauge and judge and kind of really dive into some stats here because you only got 1 weekend's worth of data to look at. And that's hard to go off of. But I mean, you're probably going to get him on Friday you might not get him on Friday, but depending on what TCU wants to do, they may want to throw him on Saturday against a little bit tougher opponent. If you're just looking at, what they did in their first weekend as far as rotation, he was your Friday night guy on Saturday. If you're going off of, match for match, you're looking at potentially Tommy Lepore. He's a guy that went 6 innings for TCU, 0 runs, 0 hit, or 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and 76 pitches. So he's a guy that can come out there and eat up some innings. But it'll be interesting to see the approach here. But I think I agree with both you guys. This is probably going to be the best game all weekend down at the Amegy College Baseball Series down at Globe Life.
Absolutely.
And then as you roll into that last game, you got Michigan, who we talked about, kind of shocked some people in opening weekend, taking down Virginia. And now you got to look at it as a little bit more of a serious game compared to, they gave us trouble last year in the 11 a.m. game. We got by them, but, wasn't necessarily as easy as what you may thought. Going into this weekend, you might have to look at them a little bit more than maybe what you would have going into the season after what they did opening weekend.
Yeah, Michigan's not a bad baseball program. I mean, they made the College World Series just 7 or 8 years ago. So they've been in there before. I think they've been in there a couple times, but they're good. They're not a bad team. Last year they played as close. They'll probably play as close again this year. They beat number 2 Virginia, which is a lot of people's favorite to go to the College World Series this year, opening weekend. So it says a lot. I don't know much about their Sunday starter, but I'm sure it's going to be a good matchup, and hopefully we get a good outing from Gage Wood. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, me too. And just to piggyback off that, I do think, like I said, I do think Michigan's a different animal this year. I've batting wise, they look like you said, it's just one weekend, so you can't do a lot. But to keep up with Virginia the way they did and put it, fight to 11 innings and to win, that's a big deal. I know it's the first game of the year. I'm not saying anything bad on Virginia or that was a game that proves Michigan this season. But the thing is, they're not going to quit on you. Now it might be different because it's going to be their Sunday guy, but they held Villanova scoreless on Sunday and put up 19 points. So I'm not saying that's super impressive because it's Villanova, but I'm saying they're a competent baseball team, and I feel like they're a little bit more dangerous than they were last year. But I feel like Arkansas is a little bit better offensively, especially not just offensively, but especially their third day starter. I think Wood's going to be much better than what's his name?
Molina.
I guess it was Tiger that year, wasn't it? Tiger was day 3 at the beginning of the season, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. Last year it was you had Hagan, your Friday night guy, Mason Molina coming on Saturday,
and Tiger. Yeah,
Tiger.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel good about it. Just I'm a little bit cautious about the last 2 games.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's going to be your 2 tougher games, some 2 tougher opponents that, Michigan getting the big win over Virginia, TCU being, ranked and being undefeated as well, just like Arkansas coming into this weekend. But yeah, I mean, I'm just excited for some baseball down at Globe Life in a nice 72 degree baseball stadium where you can actually see what these guys got to work with when they're not freezing cold here in Fayetteville. So it's going to be fun, some fun stuff to watch. I expect some great baseball. I'm ready to see some more Australian home runs.
That Pacific Power.
That's right.
Yeah. From Pacific Power being shown off, but it'll be interesting to see how this weekend shakes out. I'm confident enough, like you, Hobbs. I think more than likely you could see Arkansas coming out of this, 3-0 on the weekend and return to Fayetteville for a midweek being 7-0 on the season.
Yeah, I'm very confident we can win all 3 of them. Pitching staff is when you can pitch, you can beat anybody. And Dave Van Horn's already mentioned this as well. Be prepared that if the pitching staff continues to do what they do, that he will keep guys that can play better defense in the lineup and sacrifice some offense, because there's no point in scoring 10 runs when you're giving up 2. So you just be prepared for that. I know we want to see a lot of offense this year, and I do too. But if he's got a guy at first base that's not quite great with the bat, like maybe a Michael Anderson, because he's playing better defense than Pepe or say, whatnot. That could be the case, but it's early in the season. So a lot of these guys deserve to be out there getting the playing time. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see what these guys do down in Arlington. Before we get out of here, we got to talk about some Arkansas softball as they were back in action today. They had 2 games as they headed out to California to play out there in a kind of classic type tournament, if you will. And they took on Rutgers today in their first game, won that game 10-0 in 5 innings. So they run rule yet again. It's another game where, this team continues to show off all of its offensive power and prowess that they have coming back, and the new additions along with Bree Ellis. Can we talk about her winning National Player of the Week for her amazing performance the previous weekend? The player that we knew Arkansas softball was getting, and she continues to show that this season.
Yeah, she's an amazing player. I talked with my friend at work who is a huge Arkansas Razorback softball fan, and she was telling me about how She thinks Arkansas is going to be that team that no one thinks about really, and that's going to come out of nowhere, and that's really going to, be not a favorite necessarily, but a really good bet to win the SEC championship this year. And I was like, well, what about Oklahoma? What about Texas? And he's like, Oklahoma's starting to fall. They've been starting to fall off in the last year or so. And then, Texas, they're kind of they're Texas, but she thinks that Arkansas has a real shot at taking that crown this year. And the thing is, they're showing it out on the diamond. They're not just beating people, they're destroying people. Run rules, I think, right? That's what you said. Both of these games were run rules, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They won.
Hobbs, I didn't know where you went.
10-0.
I looked over and you were gone. I was like, we lost Hobbs.
Look, I've been having to pee for the last 20 minutes, and it was getting really rough. And I made it to the baseball segment. I was like, look, I got to go.
Fair enough.
But I know the softball team has looked incredible today. I'm really excited about them. When did you say they play UCLA? Caleb, when was that?
They are going to be playing UCLA on Saturday at 5:00.
You got to be kidding me. So we play UCLA Saturday at 5. We play TCU at 6 and Missouri at 7. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Yep.
Man, it's a big Saturday night. We may have to do a show Saturday night after this, especially if we go 3-0. I mean, that's a huge Saturday for Arkansas sports.
It is, back-to-back games. I mean, geez, yeah, they ain't cutting us a break at all with this schedule.
Not at all.
No.
But in this first game with softball today, you had Peyton Burnham get the nod in the circle. She goes 5 innings, so pitches the entire game with it being a run rule game. Allows 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, and on the season has a .75 ERA.
It was almost a no-hitter too, wasn't it?
Yeah, she only allowed 1 hit.
Yeah. No, but it was at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and I saw people talking about how the announcers jinxed her and all that stuff. So, happens.
Yeah. But, I mean, we just talked about Bree Ellis. Once again in this game, she goes 2 of 3 with a run. The star in this game, you have to talk about Courtney Day, the utility player for Arkansas. She goes 2 of 3 for a run and 3 RBIs in this game. So she puts 3 across the plate. And then you have Wyckoff also go 1 of 3 scoring a run, 2 RBIs. Reagan Johnson 1 for 3 scoring 2 runs. It's like Hobbs and I talked about on Sunday. I was about to say, you don't get a break when you're going down this lineup for this Arkansas team. It's like hitter after hitter after hitter. And then, you roll over to game 2 so they beat Rutgers in game 1. They played Cal State Fullerton in game 2 where they also won 10-0 and run ruled this game. And this time you had Robin Heron getting the nod in the circle. Here she goes the entire game, 5 walks, 1 hit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts with a .48 ERA.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And,
girls are good.
These girls continue to excel. You had Atalia Rijo in this game be the big hitter. It's it's not you're not having to rely on one person with this softball team. It's like somebody different each game, stepping up and, having a big game. Atalia Rijo went 2 for 3 with scoring a run and 3 RBIs in this game with a home run. So, I mean, it's like everybody's contributing. It's just like we talked about the depth that baseball has. Softball has it up and down as well. And, to like what Austin was saying a while ago, Arkansas is maybe that team in the SEC that people could be looking past. We broke back in the top 10 in the rankings this week. We're ranked number 10. Hobbs and I was talking about it on Sunday where Arkansas is going to have a top 10 matchup this weekend as they're playing UCLA, who's ranked in the top 5 and one of the top softball teams. So it's going to be fun trying to watch all these, but also Hobbs, you have it better than we do because this tournament that Arkansas is playing in California for softball is also on Flow Sports, unfortunately. So there you go. You can watch softball on Flow Sports, then tune right over to baseball.
That's true.
Especially because it's short. They're just cutting these games where, they're getting through these 5-inning games and run ruling these teams. Like, man, these games aren't lasting too long.
No, I mean, I've already paid the $32 for it, and
might as well use it, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, it's like $10 and some change a game. So, might as well use it. It's good games. I've always enjoyed the Arlington games because it's just playing the Major League Baseball stadium, and it's just different. It's a different place we're going to play in than we do every year. So, I enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't enjoy the Flow Sports experience, but it's fun to me.
Fair enough. If you buy into it and you enjoy it, there you go. But as we kind of get ready to wrap up here, a lot going on in Arkansas sports this weekend. We just talked about it. Saturday is going to be jam-packed with a triple header, if you will, of softball, baseball, and basketball. You got baseball on Friday and Sunday as well. With softball, you got that going on all weekend as well. But they played 2 games today. They got one tomorrow at 8 o'clock. They're playing Loyola Marymount tomorrow night, and then on Saturday they're playing Baylor at noon. So they got a doubleheader, playing Baylor at noon, UCLA at 5, and then they won't be back in action until next weekend in a tournament they're hosting here in Fayetteville. Baseball will return after the Arlington to have a midweek game on Tuesday. Weather should be much nicer as you're going from the frosty tundra here in Fayetteville to a nice 60-degree day on Monday. So that's Arkansas weather for you here in Arkansas. So as we kind of get ready to wrap up, don't forget to hit and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere your podcasts are found. You can find us here. So don't forget to like and subscribe there. Hit that bell on YouTube. That way when we go live and you don't miss it. And, we'll recap you on Sunday, potentially Monday, or even depending on the big weekend, we may do something Saturday night. So we'll just have to see, but you guys stay tuned. And if we don't see you until Sunday or Monday, have a great rest of the weekend and get ready to watch plenty of Arkansas sports, especially the baseball team down in Arlington. And with that, we'll see you when we see you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.